Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I am Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer. Before we get today's show started, I would like to ask our audience for a few favors. Be sure to visit cobrt.com. You can sign up for our newsletter while you're there. Under the Media tab, you can find this show and more. Also visit cobrt.com/radio-podcast. We also have plenty of events coming up in the future, so check out our events page as well. But the next event that we have coming our way is the Cybersecurity Summit that is happening on April 2nd, and that is with Cybersecurity Summit USA. So I have with me here Bradford Rand. He is the president and CEO of Cybersecurity Summit USA. How are you, Bradford?
I'm doing well. That sounds kind of important.
It does sound important, doesn't it?
I'm not really a cyber expert. I'm more of an event producer, but it sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome. Event producer. I like that title. I might steal that from you, actually. But we have had you on previously. We had you on a little bit earlier in March, and we spoke overall about cybersecurity and things that people should know. So just a little bit of a refresher on a background on yourself and Cybersecurity Summit USA, if you don't mind.
Sure. Obviously, my name is Bradford. I'm from New York. Kind of a serial entrepreneur from college, and worked on Wall Street for a little bit, and then got into producing job fairs, firstly for sales and management professionals, and then in 1995, with the advent of email and the web and everything, we started to produce an event called Tech Expo, and that became the largest job fair for computer professionals in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Jersey, and we then of course, experienced the whole dot-bomb crash and almost went out of business. And then 9/11 happened shortly thereafter, and we thought we were going to go out of business. I thought I was going to end up at Club Med as like a volleyball coach or something. And then one of the smart people on the team said, why don't we start producing job fairs for the defense industry? So we changed the name a little bit and created Tech Expo Top Secret, which became the largest job fair for the defense industry. So typical exhibitors like Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, the CIA, the NSA, and so forth. And that's been going very, very well since 2002. And I came up with the idea to do the Cybersecurity Summit because we started to do job fairs just for cybersecurity professionals. And there are a lot of trade shows out there, a lot of major 3-4 day events like DEF CON, Black Hat, RSA, but they're huge. And our philosophy was why or who, what type of CISO or CTO or CIO is going to spend 3 or 4 days walking 700 or 800 booths to try to find their next solution? Why don't we create a one-day solution where we can bring a whole bunch of learning and education and a technology showcase availability to the actual city, so it's easy for the high-level executive to just leave their bank, their hospital, wherever they work, to come, as opposed to traveling for 3 or 4 days and walking a huge trade show. Let's make it more intimate, and let's make it easy for them to attend, so that they can find out what the latest threats are from great experts from companies that are participating, along with experts from the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service and NSA and so forth.
Which sounds amazing, and I'm actually super excited to try to get the day off so I can come visit for a little bit at least some of this summit that we have. I want to ask you real quick, I don't think we touched on this in the last interview, but you took your Tech Expo Top Secret. How was that foray into the defense world? I imagine you had lots of red tape that you had to cut through to try to get these people on board.
Well, we simply... since there's no confidential information that's shared at the Tech Expo Top Secret Job Fair, what it is we connect tremendous employers such as Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Boeing, all of these companies that are hiring top secret cleared engineers, programmers, and analysts. We put them all together in a ballroom, similar to what we do with the Cybersecurity Summit. We my company is basically, we're connectors. So with the job fair business, we connect defense contractors and agencies that are looking for top secret cleared talent with top secret cleared professionals. And we advertise everywhere: Facebook, Career Builder, military.com, LinkedIn, Indeed. And we attract these hundreds of cleared professionals to come. And similar to the Cybersecurity Summit, we're connecting cyber solution providers with key decision makers at all different types of companies, whether it's energy, healthcare, retail, or technology for that matter. And we're connecting them with the cyber solution providers so that they can see for themselves what may be the next best solution for their company. And we couple that with great education throughout the day.
Awesome. That is wonderful to hear. And speaking of being a connector, I'm excited to introduce our other guest here. We have Jay Prassl. He's the CEO and founder of Automox. So Jay, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So Jay, just a little bit of background about yourself, your college, your career path, and ultimately how you ended up founding Automox.
Wow, I don't know if you want to go back that far for me in my career, but I've been in the kind of early stage startup space for a number of years now. I think it's probably in the 20+ year range at this stage of the game. And for me, it's always been in infrastructure. My career really began as kind of many early careers do, in some happenstance, things coming together, and I ultimately was able to join a company called Left Hand Networks early in pre-iSCSI days. Was the 5th person there, and we grew that to 300+ people, and we exited that to Hewlett Packard. Boy, a long time ago now. That was a good almost 10-year run. I spent a couple years within HP, and then got reconnected with someone building another data storage company called SolidFire. And it was pretty cool to join that when it was just kind of 4 engineers and myself, and had the opportunity to bring that company from Atlanta, Georgia, where it was, here to Boulder, Colorado, and did what I think entrepreneurs love to do, which is hire all your friends. So we hired up the rest of the old Left Hand team, grew SolidFire to about 500 people, exited that to Network Appliance. So that was a successful run in a much tighter time frame versus HP, or Left Hand was a good 10-year run. SolidFire was about a 5-year run. And spending time within this infrastructure space has been really educational to kind of start to see where these problems are. And I think the fun of entrepreneurship is really about understanding where the hole is and how to fix it. So for us, and you look at kind of the founding of Automox, which is about almost 3 years ago now, the focus for us has really been on what I'll call the basics, in what we term here at Automox as the fundamentals of cyber hygiene. And we looked out at the world and said, hey, there's the investment thesis in security has been largely around what we call detection. And that's very cool and interesting ways to identify where vulnerabilities exist and where attacks are occurring, et cetera. And so much of the money has gone into neat ways to see these things. And if you look at what actually happens inside an organization, there's a wonderful set of tools that will develop this list of what I call bad news. Where's the hack? Where's the vulnerability? What machine isn't configured? What machine isn't patched? And so what you get is this massive list of this information, yet as we looked at the industry, there's very few people or companies willing to go across the line and actually solve for these problems. And for us, those are the fundamentals of cyber hygiene. Patching your OS, patching the third-party software that sits on top of it, making sure the right software is deployed on the device to begin with, and then also making sure that the device is configured correctly. And these really are the fundamentals or the basics. When you think of it from a cyber hygiene standpoint, and hygiene is a really good way to consider this problem. You don't get good oral hygiene if you're doing this, brushing your teeth once a week or once a month. And the same is an occurrence from a security standpoint, that if you're not keeping up with the basics, such as patching your infrastructure, you get the result of what we've seen in things like the WannaCry issue, which was a Windows vulnerability that was unpatched and people were leveraging and ransoming devices. Equifax is one everybody knows about, unpatched Linux systems. So this is a problem that's rife and available across industries, across verticals, regardless of company size. People have this issue. Yet there is a time and materials problem where people don't have the right personnel, know-how, or resources to solve for this. So what we've done simply at Automox is rooted this entire problem into a single cloud-based infrastructure that allows you to automate this work. No one goes to school for this problem. No one gets a degree in patching. No one gets a degree in configuration management. These are things that unfortunately many IT managers make up on the fly. And we feel that there is an opportunity to deliver a platform of record and the opportunity to allow IT managers to automate that list of bad news that comes to them with some of the other detection tools out there. So the origin story for this is largely around seeing this being a problem. I was at my last company, and I had an IT manager come to me when we were making a transition into network appliance and said, hey, can you go on your machine and tell me what, and this was an email to 500 plus employees, said, can you go on your machine, look for what operating system you have, tell me what level it's patched at, and send me an email back. And I kind of just ran over to him. I said, if you could just automate all of this, wouldn't this really be pretty interesting? And his answer was, of course, I would love to do that. But we have Windows machines and Linux machines and Mac machines. And that was pretty much the end of my time at the SolidFire NetApp transition at that point.
Wow, that is quite a transition, and I like watching your evolution through the cybersecurity field there. And particularly with entrepreneurship, I think at this point in time we're looking at more entrepreneurs in the cybersecurity space than anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in this space, and I think it is the problem of our time in many ways, right? There are all these interesting connected devices and ways for us to interface with one another through these machines, but there is a confidence gap that has started to occur. And you see it very prevalently in IT managers themselves. Is you've got security folks on one side saying, hey, these systems are vulnerable, please do something about it. And you have IT managers on the other side who have to do the work, who go, well, I'm fearful. I am low in confidence in what the ultimate outcome of this update is going to be. And so Automox's really core value and our compelling why as a company is about changing this confidence level. We want to let companies use data to understand whether or not an update is going to succeed or fail, and as a result, move more towards being willing to automate all of this work in the background.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Well, I want to ask you this list of bad news that you send out. What kind of feedback are you getting from your companies on this? I imagine it's good. You are doing well for surviving for 3 years, but what kind of feedback do you see?
Let me be a little bit more specific. The list of bad news comes from a variety of other tools that IT managers or security operations folks use. We don't generate that list of bad news. Okay. We are allowing companies to act on that information. So if you look at how people, when they scan their environment, you can break that scan, or basically where the problems are, down into 3 buckets. One bucket is 60% of the problem that is shown by vulnerability managers and scanners out there is that 60% of the issue is unpatched systems, right? WannaCry, Apache struts with the Linux issue in Equifax. That's 60% of the problem. If you look at another 20% of the problem, in addition to that, are misconfigured systems. So things like password timeouts were wrong. The screens don't time out at the right stage. USB ports are left open and people can download information from them. All of that configuration can be automated and maintained over time through an automated system. So that breakpoint is important, that there's a series of information and problems out there. There's what we automate and do on our side. And at the end of the day, if you look at that lens again, 60% of the problem is unpatched systems, 20% are misconfigured systems, and then the remaining 20% is kind of human bad behavior, phishing attacks, et cetera. So with Automox, our value prop has a lot to do with closing down the threat surface. So if you can automate these basics, you can close the threat surface down by 80%. And that's really important, right? Think about that. I'm going to rob your house as an example. Do I climb to the 4th floor window and try and break in? No, I'm going to jiggle the door handle and see if the door's open. And if it's open, I'll walk in. And when you look at largely these problems, there's some statistics out there that say by, I believe it's 2020, that 99% of the vulnerabilities that will be exploited, IT managers will already know about. They're already in there. The burglar's already in the house. And so that is a way to remove that and solve for that problem, is to simply keep up with the basics. Okay? But if you run a Windows, Mac, and Linux shop, and here come the Windows updates every, first Tuesday of every month, then there are, Linux updates and all these other things, and then not to mention Adobe, Java, Firefox, Chrome, all those updates. I mean, the threat surface multiplies with a varied and heterogeneous environment that people have today.
Oh, yeah. And those are simple fixes that I think a lot of us probably don't think about in our day-to-day. I like the idea of cyber hygiene. That's not a term that I'd heard before, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
I want to talk about the actual Denver event that we're having. Again, This is the 3rd annual event. It's going to be April 2nd. We have roughly 8 minutes left in the segment, so I'm going to ask, first of all, here, Jay, with you, what made you decide to get involved with this summit? Were you at last year's? Are you going to, is this your first year? Tell me more about your role there.
Yeah, we're a first-time exhibitor this year. As we've been growing our company over the last few years, we look for venues and ways to get in touch with IT managers and SecOps folks who are actually on the ground doing the work. We've spent time at RSA and some of the other bigger shows. You get a very different audience there, and part of what we're looking to learn from in this event is what kind of audience does show up here. And our research says that it's decision makers, people who are deep in the security space. So we're going to actually bring some pretty interesting, very targeted tools to bear when actually we meet with an individual one-on-one at our booth. We're going to have some very specific information to hand to that person by name when we're there at the show. So we're looking forward to both testing some things on our side and kind of deepening our relationship with the event and see how it goes from both a lead standpoint, but we'll also be testing messaging and things like that at the event as well.
That is exciting. And Bradford, I'm sure you love hearing that.
Yes, I do, and I'm happy to report to Jay that this is the largest amount of registrants we've ever had for Denver. I was just looking right now, as you guys were talking, to see what the latest registrations were, and it looks like it's, believe it or not, 700 RSVPs, which is tremendous because there is as I like to say, a cyber conference, brunch, lunch, or golf outing, or some type of dinner in every city every day. Yeah. So the fact that we have so many RSVPs for this event makes me very, very happy. I don't want to jinx it, but right now I'm looking at, it looks like it's over, just about 700. Whereas last year we had 500, the year before it was around 300. So it's growing nicely. We're soon going to actually cut off registration because we have to have enough breakfast and lunch for everyone. But that's a champagne problem. We're excited. I think we have some great speakers. Aside from the Secret Service that we actually have an Automox speaker, Gavin Matthews, on your team, is going to be joining us for the cloud security panel. And alongside that Automox executive, we've got the head of the FBI's electronic crimes unit that's going to be keynoting in the morning. And we're closing with the U.S. Secret Service electronic crimes expert. So we're basically creating a sandwich of just tremendous amount of education. We have experts. I'm looking right here at the list. Oracle will be talking about resilience. Darktrace, they're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, which will be a nice segue back to you, Jay. Do you utilize any type of artificial intelligence with your solutions?
Yeah, not today. You can think of what we're doing inside as we'll be surfacing data over time within our platform, but today we do not use an AI-based tool in our platform.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because it seems like that might be an interesting way to monitor so many different servers. What needs patching? It's a unique way to solve the problem, which is patching, which is great. I'm just wondering when you start having 1 million computers underneath your client list and you got to patch them all.
Yeah, that's native to the platform. I mean, it's kind of what we do. When we think of AI, we think of kind of learning and decision making as a result of that data. So we have the data. That's part of what the platform does. But over time, we'll then need to set up and kind of interpret that data to provide some more predictable analytics on the front end. But that's part of kind of the growth trajectory, and we'll be doing that kind of over time.
Excellent. Yeah, so we've got about 25 great experts that are going to be joining us. And again, what sets us apart from the other trade shows is we do cater to the executives that are very limited in time. That's why we cater the breakfast and lunch and cocktail reception so that there's no real reason to leave the summit. And it's back-to-back seminars and discussions and breakout sessions all in one beautiful ballroom, as opposed to the convention centers out in San Francisco or Las Vegas, where you're telling the CTO or CIO or CISO to walk miles, literally miles of trade show booths. Our answer to that is keep it small, keep it intimate, have 30 or 40 solution providers, something that's feasible for that CISO to walk around, get an idea of what those latest solutions are, and then bring that back home. What we've heard is that at some of the big trade shows, more and more, they're great shows, but more and more junior level people are attending because, a CISO of a bank is getting breached every 15 minutes. He can't leave his post. So let alone, leave for 3 or 4 days and leave his family to walk 700 booths. So our answer is keep it intimate, keep it boutique, and make it, create an environment, create an atmosphere where people can actually have a meaningful conversation.
I love hearing that personally. We've got roughly 2 minutes left in this segment, and I want to make sure that, one, our audience knows a little bit more about Automox and where they might be able to find a little bit more information, Jay.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for asking. So, we run a 15-day free trial with folks. You can get access to that at automox.com, AUTOMOX.com. And what's important in that trial period is that you can deploy Automox across as many devices and create as many automated policies across the Windows, Mac, and Linux landscape as you see fit. I think you'll find it unique both in how it's demonstrated and the value you gain as a result of it. So easy to access. Feel free to jump right in there and grab a trial if you like. And if you have any questions, you can always just hit us on support@automox.com.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Bradford, we know once again, April 2nd, I believe it's at the Hilton Center, if I'm saying that correctly. Okay, good deal. But one more reason why we need people to attend, people that are in the Automox space, perhaps.
Well, another major reason is to learn about solutions such as automated patching, to learn about artificial intelligence, to learn also, as Jay was saying, about basic hygiene. So many breaches occur because, I won't say stupid people, but unexperienced people click on that quintessential CNN link that says earthquake, in Los Angeles. They click on it, and then they've infected the entire system. Or they're opening up emails from people that they just don't know. And once they open up that document, they can infiltrate their network. So there's a lot of learning and a lot of best practices that are shared during the conference. So the reason to come is, you could learn how to save millions of dollars or avoid losing millions of dollars by looking at some of the latest technologies, like, for example, from Automox, or even learning just best practices from law enforcement, which will be in full force at the summit on the 2nd.
Well, awesome. That is wonderful to hear. Thank you so much. Again, Bradford Rand, President and CEO of Cybersecurity Summit USA, and that Cybersecurity Summit will be in Denver April 2nd. And also Jay Prassl, CEO and Founder of Automox. You'll find more information in the description below, so be sure to click on that. Like and subscribe our YouTube page while you're here. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It has been such a pleasure having you.